Let's talk about parliamentary procedure. What do pastors need to know about this? Well, at least you need to know who our parliamentary authority is. Is it Robert's Rules? If not, probably you should amend the bylaws to specify that. And I just mentioned here as an aside, some of you may be interested in becoming a registered parliamentarian like I am. It's a very arduous, difficult task, to be honest with you, but I'm glad I did. And some of you, I think, have an affinity for rules and details, and I think you need to consider, go to the National Association of Parliamentarians website. You can look at all the details there on how you become a registered parliamentarian. Some important rules, I'll just make a couple of comments here. These are some of the important rules. Robert's Rules, you know, it's 750 pages long. You know, it just now occurred to me, Matt, I never thought about this before. That's the exact same length as the Church and Clergy Tax Guide.
That's true.
Is there a significance there? For example, the 11th edition of Robert's Rules, I noted 153 changes from the 10th edition 10 years before. And I thought, that's odd, 153. That's the number of fish in Peter's net when he cast it out again. And is there a significance there? I'm thinking of doing an article on that. Anyway.
Numerology.
Numerology. So, I just want to make a couple comments here about some very important rules that are constantly trampled on and violated. Can bylaws be suspended? How many times I've been asked this question? And the answer is no. Robert's Rules does not permit or allow suspension unless the rule itself provides for it, which is rare. And state nonprofit corporation law, I've never seen a state law that recognizes suspension. So don't think you can suspend your bylaws. The Model Nonprofit Corporation Act and Robert's Rules both say no. Now, what about improper motions? And those are motions that conflict with your governing documents of the church, that violate civil law, conflict with civil law, conflict with a motion under consideration that hasn't been resolved. So those are some of the issues. It's fairly narrow in scope. But I want to get to this next: accepting, adopting, or next line, receiving a report. This is violated millions of times a year. You know, you're sitting there in a board meeting at church, and the treasurer gives a report of the finances, and the pastor says, "Is there a motion to receive this report?" Well, there's two errors there. Number one is a small committee under 12. You don't need a second. And secondly, to receive a report in parliamentary parlance means to have it read to you or presented to you. That's nothing to do with the approval of the report. So we received the treasurer's report. That's nonsensical, because what that technically means is, okay, Bill, you need to present it again. So stay away from that word receive. It means to read the report. Now, what about those treasurer's reports? If a matter does not require action, don't approve or accept it. Just the chair says this, let's file this with the minutes. The classic example would be the treasurer's report. The treasurer's report, every meeting, like of my church, it's a monthly meeting of the board. And, you know, we never say we received the report. We don't even approve or accept the report, because by doing so, the board becomes liable for every number in that report. Most of them have never even read it. So you just have it presented. The pastor says, are there any questions or corrections? Please file this with the minutes. The only exception would be if you have an annual business meeting and you have a CPA audit, you can, and the board or the congregation, the membership, can vote to accept the auditor's report. My church does that. Okay, the Gordian knot motion. remember the Gordian knot from Greek mythology, where Alexander the Great heard about this legend of this knot that was so convoluted nobody could untie it. And anybody that did and tried was killed. And Alexander saw that knot. He took out his sword and he cut it in half. And so there's something in parliamentary procedure called the Gordian knot motion. I've done it once. And that's where a situation has become so out of control, you need to start all over. I was in a meeting, I was the parliamentarian for thousands of delegates. 9 microphones, everyone had 3 or 4 people backing up. You had points of order. You had parliamentary questions. You had points of information. You had questions of privilege. You had motions. You had amendments and amendments to amendments. It was absolute chaos in that hall. And I pulled the trigger and I suggested, and the chair did this, let's do the Gordian knot. I mean, you don't do that just for anything, but just clears everything. And you go back to square one and you start all over again. And we had peace in the hall. So there you go. That may be of help to some of you. Now, if you want a summary, you might consider Robert's Rules of Order newly revised in brief. That's a pretty good little booklet, 150, 200 pages. Or The Idiot's Guide to Robert's Rules of Order. That is actually a good publication. You might want to put masking tape over the title, but there you go.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel below. Make sure to hit the notifications button so you'll be notified every time a new video is released. Also, be sure to visit churchlawandtax.com for the latest church-specific coverage.